Voting ends for 7th phase of Lok Sabha elections. High to moderate turnout in 7 states and 2 union territories for 89 seats. Telangana voted for its first government and also from Sonia to Ambika Soni, Modi to Advani. Fate of several key heavyweights at stake in this phase. Modi clicks his way to a new controversy, faces Election Commission action after post-poll selfie flashing his party symbol. And political leaders continue campaigning for the remaining 2 phases. Rahul, Priyanka and Modi hit the campaign trails. Well, voting for the 7th phase of Lok Sabha elections ended peacefully today. Moderate to high turnout was recorded in the 89 seats that went to polls on Wednesday. Out of the 7 states and 2 union territories, West Bengal had the highest at close to 82% turnout. Here's a look at how India voted in the most crucial phase for several bigwigs on Wednesday.
This was the 4th largest phase of polling in these 9-phase Lok Sabha elections. 89 seats across 7 states and 2 union territories went to polls on Wednesday. Voting took place for all 26 seats in Gujarat and 13 in Punjab. Telangana saw voting in 17 seats. 14 seats in Uttar Pradesh, 9 in West Bengal, 7 in Bihar and 1 each in Jammu and Kashmir, Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu went to polls. Voters queued up outside polling booths since 7 in the morning. Despite heatwave conditions in several states, the turnout was encouraging.
The turnout for this phase in Bihar is likely to reach around 60%, which is approximately 15% increase as compared to the last time. Last time it was 45.02%. Turnout in Punjab is likely to be around 73% as against 70.04% in the previous election.
In Kashmir, voters defied the shutdown call by separatists today to come out and vote for the Srinagar constituency. Security forces kept strict vigil to stave off any security threat.
बिल्कुल अपने खुशी से निकलते हैं वोट डालने के लिए यही उम्मीद रख के कि हमें अपने नुमाइंदों को चुनना है वो हमें फायदा देगा.
Tight security cover was there in all other states to ensure free and fair polling.
Voting is one of the most important, almost like a fundamental right provided to us in a parliamentary democracy. It is the duty or responsibility cast on every citizen who has a vote to cast his vote.
अपनी जिम्मेवारी में, संवैधानिक जिम्मेवारी में हर आदमी आगे आए और ऐसे योग्य अपने प्रतिनिधि चुने जो देश को अग्रणी देशों की पंक्ति में ले जाकर खड़ा कर सके.
For the rest of the states, voting was largely peaceful. Till reports last came in, the turnout is on the higher side. Punjab and Telangana saw over 70% polling, while in Bihar and Gujarat, more than 60% voters exercised their franchise. UP too saw a turnout of 57%. The Union Territories also recorded high turnouts. There were a number of celebrities who also cast their votes on Wednesday. From cricketer Cheteshwar Pujara to badminton star Saina Nehwal, everyone queued up outside booths. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let me now introduce our guest on the show. We have with us CL Manoj of the Economic Times joining us in our studio for India Votes, of course. Good morning and welcome to the show, Manoj. Another interesting day, of course, yesterday. Another day of high voter turnout and West Bengal leading the way once again with over 80% voter turnout in West Bengal.
Well, this has been one of the most positive trend of these elections because a lot of people from all walks of life, very enthusiastically participating in this election, especially the youth and also a lot of old people. So I think the youth participation is all the more encouraging because as we know that India is a country which is growing young. We have the largest segment of youth population. So I think there is growing awareness among the people that they should participate in the elections. In a democracy, they have a major say who should rule this country for the next 5 years. And also the role played by the Election Commission is very important because they have been taking many measures to encourage people to come to the polling booths. And of course, the media has played an important role. So, and also that more or less the election yesterday remained peaceful.
Yes,
so these
indeed,
are
the
very
election was,
healthy
extremely
signs.
Yes, indeed, very healthy signs, of course, and we are almost come to the end. Just 2 more phases remaining. One big phase, of course, that is the 7th of May, and then, of course, after that, it's almost over. And then the last phase, of course, just has a few seats, not too many seats. So interesting contest ahead, of course. But another interesting thing yesterday was, of course, in Telangana. Now, simultaneous polling was held for 119 assembly seats in the newly formed state of Telangana. Now, voters queued up since 7 in the morning amid excitement of electing the first government of the new state that will formally come into existence on June 2nd. A total of 1,669 candidates are in the fray across Telangana. Congress, TRS and TDP, BJP combined are the main contenders for power in what will be the 29th state of the Indian Union. The TRS head K. Chandrasekhar Rao, who intends to become the first Chief Minister of Telangana, is also contesting the election from Gajwel. There you have it, of course, Telangana, another interesting state, of course, 17 seats. The Congress and TRS in a battle for to try and figure out to try and woo the voters to say that we are the ones who created the state of Telangana, so come out and vote for us. All that is over now. The voters have gone out and voted. 70% voter turnout in Telangana. That's also incredible, isn't it?
Yes, very, because there has been a agitation for a separate state. One started by TRS for the last 3-4 years, and also historically there was a demand for creation of this Telangana state. So understandably there will be a lot of enthusiasm among the people, and they came out in large numbers, 70%. But I was expecting it should be more than that, because this is the first election for a new state.
Indeed.
And as you said, that every politician will now they have been trying to take credit. TRS was saying that it's because of them. Congress said that it is because of their decision. And there was a talk about TRS merging with Congress, which did not happen. Now the BJP, which was always supported the creation of Telangana, has an alliance with TDP, which always opposed the creation of Telangana. So it's a very interesting election. We will see that which party will get to rule the India's latest, the youngest state for the first time. And also which party will have a major say from Telangana in the post-poll scene in Delhi.
Indeed, of course, post-poll scene in Delhi is something that Manoj is mentioning, and that is extremely important, because the way ahead is going to be extremely crucial as far as Telangana is concerned. The statehood for Telangana, or the demand of the TRS and the people of Telangana, was that it was extremely backward. The state government was not doing enough, and that's why we need a new government to ensure that something is done on the ground. Now, it remains to be seen which of those parties can wield some significant power at the center to try and get those SOPs and ensure that Telangana does well, doesn't it?
Well, I think that in the TRS point of view, the fact that they didn't go for a merger with Congress or even alliance, so they are keeping their options open, thinking that in the post-poll situation, there will be a fractured verdict and there may be a coalition government. So TRS also think that time they can bargain better and can have an alliance. So TRS would like to be part of whichever the party is in power. They had a history of doing business with the Congress in the past, and they also will have no problem with going with BJP. So it all depends on how the number games plays out.
Yes, it's all about the number games now. Of course, the elections have almost come to an end. Of course, we've reached the home stretch now, just 2 more phases to go, and of course that will be done by the 12th of May, and then the results on the 16th, of course. Extremely crucial times ahead, of course, but it's been a crucial phase of polls for most of the heavyweight candidates on Wednesday, and the list of bigwigs includes Sonia Gandhi, Narendra Modi, LK Advani, Rajnath Singh and Sharad Yadav. Here's a look at some of the top contests that took place in the 7th phase of polling.
The 7th phase of polls has gained importance due to the sheer number of heavyweights who are in fray out of the 89 seats at stake. The president of key parties like Congress, BJP, JDU, TRS and TDP were in fray today. In Uttar Pradesh, Congress President Sonia Gandhi is in fray from Raebareli. With no big names contesting against her, she is expected to get re-elected this time too. In Lucknow, BJP President Rajnath Singh is in fray. He is expected to get a tough fight from his Congress opponent Rita Bahuguna Joshi.
मुझे विश्वास है कि हमारी लखनऊ पार्लियामेंट्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज की जनता का मुझे सपोर्ट हासिल होगा, उनका स्नेह मिलेगा।
See, Lucknow has always been an extremely secular city, and people have here given the greatest importance to the candidature. It's a middle class city, it's a working class city, so don't expect it to polarize.
BJP's PM nominee Narendra Modi is also in fray from Vadodara. He's up against Congress's Madhusudan Mistry.
मैं विशेष रूप से गुजरात के मतदाताओं का अभिनंदन करता हूं कि पूरा चुनाव अभियान बहुत ही शांतिपूर्ण ढंग से संपन्न हुआ है।
मेरे ख्याल से कांग्रेस इज परफॉर्मिंग well, at least in these areas. I don't know others, but I'm pretty sure here.
Fates of veteran BJP leaders like L.K. Advani and Murli Manohar Joshi will also be decided in this phase. Advani is contesting from Gandhinagar, while Joshi faces tough task against Union Minister Sri Prakash Jaiswal in Kanpur.
I would like to compliment the Election Commission for the manner in which it has tried to see that all the voters are enrolled in the election list.
In Punjab, former Chief Minister and Congress candidate Amrinder Singh is up against BJP's Arun Jaitley. Among others in fray are three-time BJP MP from Gurdaspur Vinod Khanna and Congress State President Pratap Singh Bajwa. SAD's sitting MP from Bhatinda Harsimrat Kaur Badal is also in fray.
या विनोद खन्ना साहब की कमिटमेंट होगी आपके डिस्ट्रिक्ट अपनी डिस्ट्रिक्ट के साथ, जिस सीट से वो 3 दफ़ा इलेक्ट हुए, 17 साल हो गए, अभी तक उनका कोई ठिकाना इधर नहीं, एड्रेस नहीं है अपना वोट।
In Bihar, it will be crucial test for Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's JDU. Party Chief Sharad Yadav will be in fray from Madhepura. He'll be challenged by RJD's Pappu Yadav. In Jammu and Kashmir, National Conference Chief Farooq Abdullah is seeking re-election from Srinagar constituency.
मैं जीत जाऊंगा तो हम लोग जो हैं, हम लोगों ने ये पूरा एतमाद है इस बात में कि हम लोग सेक्युलर ताकतों से मिलकर कम्युनल ताकतों के खिलाफ लड़ेंगे।
In West Bengal, musician turned politician Bappi Lahiri is in fray from Srirampur seat on a BJP ticket. He hopes to unseat sitting TMC MP Kalyan Banerjee. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Manoj, several key contests on the cards yesterday, of course, and several heavyweights, several bigwigs in the fray as well. We had Narendra Modi, we had Sonia Gandhi, Rajnath Singh, and the list is endless, of course. And now it's almost all over for them, of course. The voters have come out and cast their vote, and probably the biggest contest there would be between Arun Jaitley and Captain Amrinder Singh.
Yeah, the Amritsar contest is widely reported to be a very interesting alliance, and Jaitley contesting his first election, and Captain Amrinder, nobody really expected that he's going to contest the Lok Sabha election. It was a last minute development, and that made not only the election scene in Amritsar but the entire Punjab became a focal point after these elections. But I think Sonia Gandhi, Narendra Modi from Vadera, they are expected to have a smooth time in the elections. So is Mr. Advani is expected to win without much trouble. Even though Rajnath Singh is seen to be ahead, the reports say that in Lucknow, it is an interesting election between Rajnath Singh and Rita Bahuguna of the Congress party. In Srinagar, Farooq Abdullah has his constituency went to election. I think we also should take note of the fact that in Kashmir yesterday, around 25% polling took place, which is very important despite the threat from militants, despite the call for election boycott from various separatist forces. Ordinary people came out and participated in the election because they do participate in an extremely difficult circumstances. So I think that is a very encouraging step.
Indeed, an encouraging step there in Jammu and Kashmir, of course. Voters coming out and voting in Jammu and Kashmir as well, in spite of the boycott calls by the militants and several of the separatists there in Jammu and Kashmir. Let's take a look at a few newspaper headlines now, of course. This is the lead story that everyone has gone with, of course, all leading newspapers. FIR filed against Modi on Election Commission's orders for poll code violation, displayed lotus symbol, held press meet. There you have it, of course, Narendra Modi there on the front page of the Times of India. Modi selfie spells trouble is the headline that the Hindu is going with. FIR filed for displaying party symbol. And then if you look at the Hindustan Times as well, it's the same thing again. Modi selfie, Modi clicks poll day selfie booked. And that's what all the newspapers are going with, of course, this morning. Manoj, I mean, it is the time of selfies. Everyone is clicking selfies. We had a very famous, the most famous selfie, of course, clicked by Ellen DeGeneres during the Oscar show, of course. And now Modi is also one not to be left behind. He said, I want to get into this selfie mode. And he has gone ahead and probably trying to strike a chord there with the youth and the selfie generation.
Well, I think these are the new kind of, what I say, the tendencies or tricks of, in the election we are going to increasingly seeing in the coming days. Of course, if you go by the text of the election code, these are violations and there was a controversy because of that. Now it has led to a filing of an FIR against Narendra Modi. But how far this can go beyond this in the election commission, there are differences of views that. But I think there is a growing tendency among the politicians, because they are aware of the 24/7 live telecast of the elections going on. So they will go to any limit to grab the attention and even make use of the last minute opportunities before the television camera to reach out to the larger constituency. This is not something which we are used to it. So therefore there is a controversy, and it is for the election commission and for others to debate it. But I think this kind of tendencies are only going to grow.
Indeed. It's only going to grow, especially with the kind of attention that the social media has created as far as the elections also are concerned. For those of you who missed out on the story, and for those of you who do not catch up on what exactly happened, here's a detailed report explaining what exactly happened as far as Narendra Modi's selfie is concerned. Take a look.
It has become a trend among public figures to click a selfie during popular events and share on social websites these days. In a first, BJP's Prime Ministerial nominee Narendra Modi took one of self soon after he cast his vote. But this selfie has landed Modi in trouble because of the controversy it has raked up. The lotus symbol in Modi's hand is what Congress has complained about to the Election Commission. Congress raised the point that Modi was flashing the party symbol after casting his vote, which is against the Model Code of Conduct.
He has clearly violated the Model Code of Conduct. His desperation is writ large since he talks of this seat all the time. I am sure the Election Commission will take strong and appropriate action.
मैं समझता हूं कि ये कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट का वायलेशन है और हमने इसकी इलेक्शन कमीशन में तुरंत शिकायत कर दी है और इमीडिएटली हमारा डिमांड है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी के खिलाफ फौरी तौर पर कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। उनका जो नामांकन पत्र है दोनों जगह से खारिज किया जाना चाहिए और उन्होंने आज जिस तरह वायलेशन किया है वो अपने आप को किसी राजा से भी ज्यादा समझने लगे हैं।
The Election Commission has directed the Gujarat administration to furnish a compliance report on the matter. It has also asked for an FIR against Modi for violating election law. The law bans candidates from canvassing within 100 meters of a polling area. However, it does not stop people from wearing clothes that display a party symbol. BJP has downplayed the controversy, but it hasn't come out with a reaction over EC's snub.
देखिए, कांग्रेस पार्टी की समस्या क्या है कि हम कैंपेन में बिजी हैं, वो हमारी कंप्लेन में बिजी हैं। तो एक पार्टी जो पार्टी की चारों तरफ देश भर में कश्मीर से लेकर कन्याकुमारी तक जन समर्थन जुटाने के लिए, जनता को आगाह करने के लिए, जनता को जागरूक करने के लिए, जनमत को जो है वो जागरूक करने के लिए कैंपेन कर रही है और दूसरी पार्टी जो है उसके पास कोई काम रह नहीं गया, वो कंप्लेन कर रही है।
Congress wants Modi's candidature from both Vadodara and Varanasi cancelled over this row. If the EC disqualifies Modi for violating Model Code, it would be a major setback for the BJP just days before the elections are over. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
At this point, I'd like to thank my guest, CL Manoj, for being here with us on India Votes this morning. Thank you so much, Manoj, for being on the show and sharing your perspectives on several of those things that we discussed. With that, it's time for a short break, but we'll be right back. To stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching India Votes on Rajya Sabha television. Well, an embarrassed Union Minister K. Chiranjeevi had to beat a hasty retreat after a youth objected to his jumping the queue to cast his vote in a polling booth in Hyderabad. Chiranjeevi, who came with his family, was escorted towards the polling booth, sidestepping a long queue of voters. An agitated youth confronted Chiranjeevi, saying that people have been waiting for more than 90 minutes for their turn. The minister later claimed that he had gone directly to the booth to check whether his name was on the list.
VIP, I respect him. And Okalochi vote is fair enough, no objection. And then he's a very busy person. Along with him, family members he's Kratamanadi is a wrong thing. Because he's a resident here, I'm a resident here. That's a major thing. I've told him as a normal residency here, follow the queue.
No question of violating. I'm not such a person who can violate. And just to cross-check whether my name is there or not, I went to the table. I asked the officers, they checked, and they said, yes, your name is there.
British High Commissioner to India, James David Bevan, had a taste of the biggest democratic exercise in the world today when he visited polling booths in Lucknow. Bevan met BJP President Rajnath Singh and visited some of the polling booths on a crucial voting day. He was also scheduled to visit Sonia Gandhi's constituency in Rai Bareli. Bevan was astonished by the well-organized process.
Delhi to witness today's polling in Lucknow. I've been travelling around India watching the progress of this election over the last few weeks. So I'm here to see the process. I'm here to register my support for the process of Indian democracy, and it's a very, very great privilege to witness it.
What is the difference between Britain and India? What do you see?
I think the first difference is the size. You are running the biggest democratic election in the history of mankind. I congratulate you on that. So the scale of this election is astonishing for someone from my country. I think I'm also struck by the efficiency of the process. It is an extremely well-organised, well-run process, and I congratulate all involved on that. And I think the third thing that is most striking is the enthusiasm of every Indian voter to come out and have his or her say.
Well, with 7 phases of elections completed so far, both the Congress and the BJP focused their energies on the campaigning for the remaining 2 phases. 105 constituencies will go to polls in these 2 phases, 64 seats on May 7th and 41 seats on May 12th. BJP's prime ministerial candidate Narendra Modi addressed political rallies in Chhapra, Hajipur, Shivpur, Tirupati, Ujiapur and also targeting Sonia and Rahul Gandhi. Modi said that nobody can save the government from certain defeat. He also accused the Congress of helping Lalu Prasad walk out of jail and doing a backroom deal with him. Rahul Gandhi, on the other hand, addressed rallies in the Seemandra region that goes to polls on May 7th. His sister Priyanka has taken charge of his campaign in Amethi that will go to polls on the same day.
मुझे गांव की जिंदगियों को बदलना है, मुझे किसान की जिंदगी को बदलना है, मुझे नौजवानों के अरमानों को पूरा करना है। भाइयों बहनों, बिहार कभी-कभी तो मुझे गुजरात वालों की ईर्ष्या आती है। गुजरात में लक्ष्मी जी तो आई, लेकिन उतनी मात्रा में सरस्वती जी नहीं आई।
Well, purchase of arms and equipment for India's armed forces involves an elaborate exercise of clearances and precedents, alongside efforts to keep shady elements at bay in high-cost deals. An exhaustive defense protocol has now been put in place. Here's a special report.
Engage target, over.
Defending the nation's frontiers with the finest weaponry at their command. There is another side to this picture. One of the multi-crore rupee procurements and defense deals. In the great arms bazaar, secrecy is the byword. Defense deals often come loaded with a background of scams and kickbacks. In this backdrop, the Ministry of Defense came out with what they called a revolutionary defense procurement policy.
The DPP, or the Defense Procurement Procedure, actually the first document came out around 2002-2003. There have been variations and modifications done. So what you're talking of is the modifications, amendments done last year in 2013. And they have been banded about as revolutionary, and that they will change the procurement speed and the procurement ethos of our defense forces.
Powers for clearance of defense deals are vested with the Defense Acquisition Council and in even bigger cases with the Defense Minister and Cabinet Committee on Security. The issue is balanced by the question of the country's defense preparedness.
We didn't have a procedure then, but we still got Vikrant, we got carriers, we got Vijayanta tanks, we got NAT fighter aircraft, we got everything. They were also being procured. We didn't have a airtight procedure for it. And to my mind, I think we got those things at a reasonably fast pace.
1 year after new defense procurement procedures were announced, defense experts say procedures needed to be tweaked so that the nation is guarded with the state-of-the-art equipment and not outdated ones. New protocols focus on greater participation of the private sector and the question of self-reliance.
Firstly, is that the entire idea of indigenization and self-reliance has to be revisited. On this channel, I want to say that there is no country in the world which is completely self-reliant.
The trend suggests that the private sector is destined to play a larger and decisive role in arms manufacture alongside defense PSUs. And going by the latest news coming from the corridors of South Block, the exercise to frame a new protocol for defense deals has taken off in right earnest. Vineet Dikshit's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.